Good afternoon, you guys. Today's chore is, well, there's a few things. One is to check the maple buckets to see how they're filling up, to see if we need to combine any, and then there's some just regular chicken chores to do too. So not too much, as you can see. It snowed this morning a little bit. A lot of that has melted, but there is still snow on the ground, so not too much to do in the way of chores. But let's check out these maple buckets, see how they're filling up. All right. Not too much today yet. It's early. Let's see over here. So I don't know if you can see this too well, but the bark of the tree here is wet underneath the tap, and that means that we need to fix this problem. And I keep calling it a tap. It's not a tap, it's a spile, okay? I know that. I misspoke during my last video, and I know. We tap a tree, and we insert a spile. This is a spile. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way. So anyway, we have to put in a bigger spile to make sure that any gap that's existing, because the hole is bigger than this spile here, we have to make sure that the next spile is bigger and that any gap is eliminated so that all of the sap is going into the bucket and not down the trunk of the tree. Because what a bummer. So we'll have to fix that problem at some point this week. Let's see this one. This one is a different system as well. Can't really see. Not too much going on in these yet. Do a quick lift test. That's a good way to tell how much is in it. Nothing. There's nothing in there. It's been cold today, so as I said the other day, or in the other video, optimal temp is like 40 degrees, between 40 and 50 degrees during the day and 20 at night. It's colder today. It's about 32, I think, degrees right now, so it seems reasonable that the sap is not flowing right now. I quickly want to talk about the two different types of trees that we have. So let's talk about that. This tree here that has the two different style of spiles is a sugar maple tree. And we call the sap and then eventual syrup from this tree sugar booger. And the reason we call it sugar booger is because it's sugary and delicious, and it's the kind of maple syrup that you want to eat on a pancake or on a waffle. It's delicious. It's sweet but not overly sweet. It's just it's perfect in every way. The tree that we have over here is a Norway maple, and you can tell the different types of maple trees by their leaves, of course, and the bark. But this is a Norway maple. And the type of maple syrup that we get from this tree is not that sweet. It's I prefer it in cooking. So if I'm making superhero muffins or any kind of recipe that calls for maple syrup, I'm going to use what we call Simply Maple. Those are our names to differentiate the two types of maple syrup that we'll end up with. Simply Maple is from the Norway maple, and Sugar Booger is from the sugar maple tree. So yeah, that's really it for the daily maple syrup farm chore. Just checking to make sure that the buckets aren't overflowing, and if for instance the two buckets on the tree, where's the tree, are half full, we would combine them into one 5-gallon bucket and then put that in the garage where we store the buckets because it's cool in there. And then we'll do that for the rest of the maple sap season. And then, once we've gotten all the sap that we can, the next phase is boiling all of that sap, boiling all the water out of that sap until all that we're left with is delicious maple syrup. So yeah, the daily farm chore is to just check the buckets, make sure they haven't blown over, make sure they're not overflowing, make sure there's not any sap running down the trunk of a tree. We will fix that. And that's it. These are some of the buckets that we got for collecting maple sap. They're each 5 gallons, and they're food grade. And we actually got them from a local ice cream maker, and so we do have to clean them. They had some strawberry syrup residue that we are cleaning out right now. So next step is to swish all this water around, dump it out, and then get an SOS, take an SOS pad to these babies and wash them up. So now it's time to move on to chicken chores. It's a good egg day. We've been getting 12 to 13 eggs a day. I think we have more than that right now. So now I'm just going to put the eggs in the carton here. So 15 eggs so far, which is fantastic. We've only been getting, like I said, 12 to 13 eggs a day, maybe 14 if we're lucky. It's only 1 o'clock right now, and we have 15, so we might get 1 or 2 more before the day's over. That'd be nice. We have been getting 1 duck egg a day so far, and they seem to be practice egg size. Practice eggs are when like a chicken or a duck first starts laying, and the egg that they lay is really small compared to how it will look later once its body is accustomed to laying eggs. So the first couple eggs that they lay, well, the first couple weeks of eggs that they lay are called practice eggs because they're so tiny. So we've been getting we've been getting about a practice egg a day from the ducks. So super exciting. And we tried some, and they're tasty, you know. Right now I can't really tell a difference between a duck egg and a chicken egg. I've heard from people that you can tell and that some people really dislike duck eggs, but I really couldn't tell a difference. People like to use duck eggs in cooking, so we'll probably end up doing that. But they're just as delicious as chicken eggs, at least to my palate. So let's check on the waters. So to keep this water clean and as free from bacteria as we can, we add some apple cider vinegar to the mix. So we've had a few different style waterers over our time here on the farm, so the past 4 years. We just got this style, with the little nipples here, and it is from Premier One. Premier One sells really high quality feeders and waterers and brooder lights and things like that. We've gotten a brooder light from them, and we've gotten this waterer from them, and both of them have made a world of difference. They just feel like really high quality, safe products to have in the barn. But this waterer also plugs in to an electrical outlet so that it remains heated in the wintertime. That doesn't mean hot water for the chickens. It just means that it's keeping the water at a temperature that it doesn't freeze. So it's good year-round. It's good for summertime, but especially wintertime. We wanted something that the ducks couldn't get into. Because ducks are messy. And, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos on homesteaders saying, yeah, ducks are messy. But what does that mean? Well, let me tell you. Everything is wet. When you have a duck, everything is wet. They stick their whole beak in the water, they thrash around, and everything that once was dry is now sopping. So we wanted a waterer in the barn that only the chickens could drink out of, and the duck waterer is actually outside. And this is the duck waterer. It's about midday right now, so we filled it this morning around 6:30, and it definitely needs a refresh. It looks extremely dirty. But things are melting, and they're drinking just puddles of water, it looks like. So they're fine with water, but they do need fresh water. But this is where we keep their water. It's outside, and you can see the surrounding area here. Everything is soaking. It's just muddy. It's a muddy mess. And if their water wasn't outside, all of this mess would be in the barn. And in fact, a lot of the mess was in the barn for a long time before we moved the water outside or switched the waterer from what we had to the Premier One waterer, where it's just the little nipples and that the ducks can't drink out of. But yeah, everything was covered in mud, and at the beginning of the season before we switched, everything was actually covered in ice. And it's an icy floor is dangerous for a variety of reasons. One, the chickens can get frostbite. And two, you can slip when you're in there, when you're trying to do chores and stuff. So moving the duck water outside was actually one of the best decisions that we made. So that's it, you guys. Pretty easy farm chore day. Check the maple sap buckets, clean some buckets for the next round of sap. Gave the chickens some water, gave the ducks some water, fed the chickens. That's it, pretty easy day. So, thank you for joining me today. And if you liked what you've watched and you want to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe. And I hope to see you next time, either on the run or on the farm.